Alright, welcome back to my video. I'm sorry it's been about 2 weeks. It's been pretty crazy. Had like 3 10-page essays. One of them was actually 15 pages and a final. So yeah, but I'm back. I have 2 more finals at the end of this month. But yeah, let's just get started. We're going to be talking about sustainable packaging and the different kinds of packaging. Right, plastics. And plastics are not inherently a bad thing. I mean, we find in our everyday life, from food to packaging to medicine to, toys. Yeah, we're over-consuming plastic in our everyday lives. That's the real issue. And how much we throw out every day is insane. So let's look at the issues of plastic and, maybe why it can be a bad thing. So if we look at plastic, it is man-made, but it's derived from crude oil, which is found below Earth's crust. Crude oil is a natural resource that we are depleting at really high rates currently, and so scientists warn that the world oil supply will run out in less than 100 years if we continue to consume at this rate. Plastic also accounts for 8% of the world's oil production. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if we break it down in numbers, you'll realize how much that really is. So it takes like a quarter of a liter to make one plastic bottle, and in the US, 30 billion bottles are tossed out every single year, and that is a lot of bottles. So if you multiply a quarter of a liter times that 30 billion of bottles used every year, that is about 7.5 billion liters of oil used every year just on plastic bottles alone in the US, which is a crazy amount, and it's definitely unsustainable. So some other issues with plastic is that 93% of plastic goes into the landfill or is incinerated, which has a ton of health effects, causes air pollution, not good for our breathing, and that means only about 7% is either recycled or, becomes litter. So 70% of ocean litter comes from plastic itself. There are these huge patches of garbage in the ocean. Well, the one in the Pacific is called the Pacific Garbage Patch, and they're called like gyres. One of them, I believe, is the size of France, which is insane. Another issue with plastic is it takes a very long time for it to break down. It could take up to 1,000 years for plastic to break down, and it never really fully goes away. So once it breaks down, it becomes like microplastics. So if you can see the picture I'm showing here, see those white little dots, those are microplastics, and those are found all over the ocean, and there's really not enough research to know what it does to our health and what it does to the fishes in the ocean and other marine life, but it's probably not going to be a good thing consuming plastic because our fish eat it, and we eat fish, then you're consuming it. Even if you don't eat fish, if you're drinking water, our water system is filled with these nanoplastics, and yeah, it's just not good to be consuming these, man-made things. Next thing we're going to look at is a case on plastic bags. Just dive deeper into the issues of plastic bags themselves. So a lot of animals die every year just from encountering like trash, and animals often mistaken them as food, especially turtles, sea turtles. If you haven't seen this image yet, but basically a sea turtle can't tell the difference between jellyfish, which is one of their main sources of food, and a plastic bag. And I mean, look, it looks pretty similar, so I don't blame them. And here, about 100,000 marine animals die from trash-related incidences, whether they get caught in those six-pack beer rings, or they get caught in fish nets or the straws. that we throw out, and we don't use for a long time. We just use it once and then just toss it out, and that's the main issue. Another issue with plastic bags is that they contain heavy metals. So heavy metals are often added to these plastic bags to increase the durability, enhance its color, and when plastic bags are thrown in the landfill, or they're just become litter, and they're exposed to higher temperatures, that those heavy metals actually leach out into the soil, which causes a ton of health issues. If humans are exposed to those heavy metals, cause miscarriages, kidney damage, respiratory issues, and other horrible things. And this also affects our environment as well. Many people have been saying bioplastics are the way to go as an alternative to plastics. But I did a lot of research on them, and well, let's just see what you guys think. So bioplastics are plastics that are made with at least 20% or more from natural resources. So it doesn't have to be completely not made out of a natural resource. It can still be made out of plastic. So they usually add an additive to make it break down faster. But it does have a bit of natural resources, natural fibers like corn, beets, straw, and things like that. But yeah, again, it doesn't have to be 100% natural. Another pro of bioplastics is it's lightweight and convenient to use, just like plastics. Just grab and go, it's there, and well, people just toss it out. Again, single use. So one paper says that we could divert 16.7 million tons of plastic if we switch to bioplastics, which may be true, and it reduces our reliance on fossil fuels. But we also have to look at the disadvantages of bioplastics. So it doesn't really take away the main problem of our, reliance on fossil fuels itself. It kind of, maybe puts a band-aid over the issue, reduces it by a little bit, but yeah, not by much. So it also needs certain conditions to actually break down. This includes light, oxygen, very high temperatures, and many waste facilities currently don't have these perfect environmental conditions for these bioplastics to break down properly. In fact, one of the bioplastics requires temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius or higher to break down, and you will not be finding those temperatures in winter in Canada for sure. It also depends because a lot of landfills are actually buried, so they don't have the light and oxygen that they need to break down. In Toronto specifically, they prohibit any bioplastics from being thrown into green bins, which is our compost bin, because we just don't have the facilities for that, and they're also not allowed to be recycled for sure. So the UN also found that they don't break down properly in the ocean, so that's also another issue because, as you know, since they're lightweight, they can fly easily through the air, or people just throw them out because, I don't know, people don't care. And so we're looking at a case study from Five Guys, which did an experiment on how plastics, bioplastics, paper, and compostable plastics actually break down. And yeah, so if you can see here, there's different types of plastics. Compostable plastics are supposed to be made from 100% natural resources, and bioplastics in this case was made from 70% renewable resources. So bioplastics and compostable plastics have said that they would break it down within 6 months. That does not seem like the case here. So as you can see, it actually takes more than a year for these bioplastics and compostable plastics to actually break down, especially the cutlery. They look the same, they're just dirty. so it doesn't seem like they're going to be going away anytime soon. The only thing that really broke down was the paper, and I'm not really that surprised. Another issue with bioplastics is that they have the highest global warming potential, meaning that they release the highest amount of greenhouse gases, which, as you know, contributes to climate change. So as you can see from this graph, the starch polyester blend bag, which is single-use bioplastic bag, definitely has like twice the amount of any other bags on there, including reusable or single use. So another option that I've seen a lot in the zero waste community is glass, and I can see why. It's great for reusing, and I use glass as well because I don't know, they're just perfect to be reused over and over again. So but I also wanted to look at the facts of glass. Alright, so let's take a look at glass and the scientific findings that I found. So if you look at this case study, this was done by looking at the beer store in Canada, which does have a refillable and recyclable bottle program, which is pretty cool. The difference is we're looking at soft drink versus beer. So in the actual case study, I believe it said that the glass soft drinks were the recyclable ones, so like they don't refill that one. The beer itself, the glass bottles can be refilled. So yeah, it's looking at the impacts of that. So as you can see, surprisingly, if you didn't know, I guess aluminum and glass bottles have the highest global warming potential compared to plastics. This is because of how much energy it takes to produce them, but the fact is that they can be reused over and over again, and it can be recycled endlessly. So that's definitely a pro. There's also the con of the global warming impacts. And also, according to the Auckland Council, aluminum, glass, steel, when they're recycled, they don't lose their quality. So again, they have a long life cycle, which is great. According to the study, if 40% or more of the glass is actually recycled, then it has been shown to have a lower global warming impact compared to plastic. And it also has a much higher recycling rate, at least 97.7% of glass is recycled, and that's pretty good compared to 7% or less that plastic is recycled. And refillable glass usually get a deposit for it back, so 98% of those are returned. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is paper. I mean, there's this whole issue and debate between which is better, plastic or paper bags. And it turns out, by the research I've done, if we're looking at the global warming issue of paper, doesn't really look so good. The paper does break down a lot quicker than plastic and bioplastics, as you've seen previously. So that is a pro. But yeah, let's just look at some of the facts. So when you're comparing paper to plastic and compostable plastic, paper has the highest energy use, the highest solid waste production, and it also uses, compostable plastics and paper use the most water to produce. So another issue is that it's also a bit more expensive, 4 to 6 cents more expensive to produce, and it's often seen as more eco-friendly, which is understandable because you're looking at the litter side, it breaks down a lot quicker. It's important to look at the whole situation as well. Here are some solutions for paper. Reduce your paper uses first. That's the most important thing, is try to reduce how much you use again. Print double-sided. I know at my workplace, I take notes on the back of like old documents and stuff, and then we shred it just in case it has sensitive information. But Yeah, that's one way to reduce paper, because we do print out a ton of documents. So just, use the back if you can for notes and stuff. You can also buy sustainably harvested paper. And another thing, the paper that I read, I think it was from the University of Saskatchewan, it said to stay away from paper that is bleached, because when paper is bleached in the factories, it eventually ends up in the environment through like sewage pipelines and things like that. So it ends up in the environment, and it actually has been shown to have endocrine hormone disruptions, for the animals that live around that area near the factories. So yeah, try to stay away from bleach paper if you can. There's alternatives like hydrogen peroxide. So I know it's pretty a little bit depressing, but I think it's always good to look at the facts before determining what is the best way, what are the best solutions. So I'm gonna give you my conclusion and maybe some solutions on what you can do to help reduce your waste. So yeah, so the conclusion I've come down to is to reuse bags as many times as you can. If you see from this graph here that reusable carrier bags produce the least amount of greenhouse gases from being produced, and it creates the least waste. So yeah, just reuse whatever packaging you have. If you end up with a plastic bag, reuse it over and over again as many times as you can. And same goes with paper, same goes with every other packaging that you have. Just make sure that you reuse and reuse, because that's the best thing that you can do. Another thing is to bring a reusable bag wherever you can, put them in your backpack or your purse. I know they have those like foldable ones. If you have a car, put them in the trunk, just so that you have it wherever you go, because buying a reusable bag every time you go out shopping is definitely not the best way. So just try to remember to bring it with you. Eventually it becomes a habit. So yeah. Another thing is that if you like to get coffee and you use a reusable mug, you can get discounts for doing that. So I know if you're in Canada, Second Cup gives 20 cents off if you bring a reusable mug, and Starbucks gives 10 cents off. I mean, if you really want to save money, you make it at home, that's the best way. But yeah, if you're in a rush and you need to buy coffee, just make sure that you have a mug on hand. Another thing I would suggest is to learn more about the zero waste movement. There are a ton of, resources now. If you just type in zero waste in Google, there's a ton of people that are blogging about it or talking about it. You can also do more research into it. Yeah, I think an important thing is to do a lot of research into what people are saying, because sometimes people say things that are not really clearly researched, and they just heard it from someone else, which, I mean, everyone has done that once in a while, but, try to do your research so that you understand the whole story. So honestly, the best solution to packaging is no packaging. Yes, just nothing, no packaging, like naked. So, if you're going to buy snacks and stuff, in Canada we have something called Bulk Barn. A ton of snacks like candy, chips, they even have rice and beans and other goods, and tea as well. And it doesn't have that individual packing, which is super annoying. They allow you to bring reusable clean jars. They weigh it for you. Then you put your goods in there. And then yeah, you're good to go. No excess packaging. So you can try to type in Google wherever you live, either zero waste like stores or zero waste bulk store. Try to go there instead. I know more and more are popping up every day, which is very exciting, because it gives us options to try to be more sustainable. Another thing is, if you want to get soaps and stuff, I think a great one is Lush. They have really nice unpackaged soap, and you just go in there, bring in your container, and they put them in there for you. I would check the ingredients though. Not all of it is natural. Actually, a lot of it's not natural. So I think there's only about 15 products maybe that are completely natural. So Yeah, make sure you check everything before you buy, but it's definitely a great way to reduce soap packaging. Another way is to, again, find like zero waste grocery stores. I know Unbox Market in Toronto is opening up this year. I'm not sure if it has. But basically, none of the vegetables and stuff come in plastic packaging, which you see in like every grocery store, which is really annoying. But yeah, they allow you to bring like your reusable bags and stuff. And so yeah, just type in like zero waste grocery stores and try to test it out. It's actually pretty fun, and I like seeing things without the nasty packaging in them. And yeah, so I guess what I hope you take away from this video is that not everything is cut clear, black and white. There's obviously a ton of issues with sustainable packaging. None of it is really sustainable. If you look at it, plastic main issue, the litter, the amount of litter that it creates, it's insane. I know you guys seen the pictures and seen it on the news. It's a really big issue. Other alternatives, they take a lot of greenhouse gases to produce, so that's not great for climate change. I mean, the truly way you can be sustainable is to try to get unpackaged goods. I know that's not easy. There's not that many alternatives in a lot of places still. It's slowly growing, but I understand. So if you're making your own decisions, I hope this video will help you. Try to take a look at all the resources and try to do more research yourself so that you can understand what the best way is. And try to reuse as much as you can. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below or DM me at ZeroWasteCutie on Instagram, and yeah, I'll definitely answer. And yeah, thanks for watching.